In this lesson, we're going to talk about rounding decimals to money. What you need to remember is money is written to the hundredths place. So if we want to round something to the nearest penny, we need to round it to the hundredths. So let's look at this first example. If I have 12 and 783 thousandths and I want this to the nearest penny, I have to find the number that's in the hundredths place. I see the 8 is in the hundredths place, so I know I have to look at the 3 to see if that's going to round up or keep it the same. So as we have learned in the past, if the number is 4 or below, it doesn't change the value of the number you're rounding to. So it would be 12.78. So you have $12.78. Now, another way to think about this is this. If I have an 8 here, I need to decide if with this 3, does that make it $12.78 or $12.79? Well, 3 is closer to 8 than it is to 9 because it's below 5. So it's $12.78. Let's look at the next example. If I have 7 and 2,193 ten-thousandths, I still have to underline the number in the hundredths place. Next to it is a 9. So that 9 tells us to round up, because as we've learned in the past, 5 and above means we will round up. So I have 7.22, which is $7.22. You don't have to worry about this 3 at all. You have $7, you see that it's 21. You have to decide if the number next to it takes it closer to 22 cents or keeps it 21 cents. And because it's a 9, it takes you to 22 cents. Try this last one. We're looking at it. We have $92.18. We see that the 8 is already in the hundredths, and there is no number next to it, so it is already written to the nearest penny because it already goes to the hundredths place. So this is what we need to remember. As you're asked to round things to the nearest penny, you always want to make sure you're trying to write it, or you always have to make sure that you are writing it to the hundredths place. That brings it to the nearest penny. The next thing we can do is try to round to the nearest dime. Now remember, dimes are 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents, 40 cents. So you want to see if it's what it's closest to. So if I look at $13.22, I need to know, is it closer to $13.20 or is it closer to $13.30? What you're essentially doing when you solve these problems for the dime is you are going to round to the 10th. Okay, so when I look at this first one, $13.22, and I want it rounded to the nearest dime, the 2 is in the tenths place, so I look at the number to the right of it, and that 2 to the right tells me that I'm rounding down, or essentially keeping the number the same. So it's $13. The 2 does not change, but you can't leave it 13.2. You're not rounding specifically to the 10th and stopping. It still has to be written as dollars and cents. You're just looking at the 10th to see which dime it's closest to. So you have to put that 0 in there to show. It's $13.20, which makes sense because 22 cents is closer to 20 than it is to 30. In the second example, $71.57. I need to decide if it's closer to $71.50 or $71.60. I look at the number in the tenths, it's a 5. I check the number next to it, it's a 7. That 7's going to tell me to round up. $71.60. That 5 becomes a 6, and you have to extend the 0 to the hundredths place because money always has to go to the hundredths place. All right, try the next two on your own to see how we do, and come back. All right, welcome back. We're looking at $21.75. 7 is in the tenths place, so we're going to look at the 5 next to it. That 5 tells you to round the 7 up. So it's 21.8, but we have to add that 0 because dollars and cents always have to go to the hundredths. So it rounds to $21.80. And the last one you tried, I have the 0 in the tens place. I take a look at the 2. That 2 tells me to round down, so it's $46. And that 0 is going to stay a 0, but I have to remember to write that other 0 to know that it's $46 even. What that's telling me is that $46.02 is closer to $46 than it is to $46.10. So remember, when you're rounding to the nearest dime, what you're essentially doing is you are going to round to the tenth. All right, the next thing you would possibly round to is the nearest half dollar. So this is a little bit tricky because the nearest half dollar is either closer to the 50 cents, halfway between the $2, or closest to the whole dollar, in between. So when I'm looking at $13.22, what I'm trying to find out is this closer to $13 or is it closer to $13.50? So this is kind of different. What you have to do is you have to use quarters as your reference point. Okay, so let's look at this chart I drew on the side. We want to think about the half dollar in relation to quarters. What we're trying to figure out is if it is closer to 13, 13.50, or 14. Those would be your half dollars. Okay, half dollar is 50 cents. So what you need to understand is that if it is less than a quarter, it will be closer to the whole dollar. If it is more than a quarter, it's closer to the 50 cents. If it's in between the 50 cents and the 75 cents, it's closer to the 50 cents. And if it's more than 75 cents, it's closer to the next whole. So if I look at this first example, and you can change these numbers. This is 13 to 14, but if you look at the other examples, you can make that 71 to 72 or 35 to 36 or 92 to 93. It's all the same idea. So 1322 is going to show up right there in your number line, which means it's less than a quarter, which means it is closer to $13. So the nearest 50 cents is $13. All right, let's look at the next one, 71.57. So that would mean looking at this number line and saying that this is 71. This is 71.50. And this is 72. Those are the closest half dollars. So when you think about where 71.57 would show up, that would show up right here on the number line. So less than 75 cents. So that means it's closer to 71.50 You can even just ask yourself, is 71.57 closer to 71.50 or 72? Because it's over the $0.50. Let's try to do that with the next one. 35.80. So 35.80, if I'm looking at that, I have 35, 35.50, and 36. 35.80 would show up after the 75, which means it's closer to the next whole number, which would be $36. Okay, try that last one. See what you get. All right, welcome back. I had 92. So it's 92, 92.50, and 93. So if you look at what you have 92.36, which would show up after the 25, which takes you closer to 92.50. So you really have to use those quarters to tell you which it's closer to as far as the $0.50. Okay, so then last is rounding to the nearest dollar. Now the nearest dollar is just like rounding to a whole number. So I'm looking at the ones place. So in 1322, I'm looking at the ones, the whole number. That 2 tells me to keep it a 3. So it's 13 whole dollars. You could also just say to yourself, 1322 is 22 cents closer to 13 cents or closer to, $13 or closer to $14. And it is closer to 13. 71.57, the next example, the 1 is in the ones place. I look at the 5 next to it. That 5 tells me to round up. So I go up to $72, which makes sense because 57 cents is closer to $72 than it is to $71. Now, in the next activity you're going to do, you're going to be given problems like this next situation on the back of your paper. You're going to be given a number, and you have to take that one number and round it to the penny, the dime, the $0.50, and the dollar. So let's look at 27.41. Now remember, rounding to the nearest penny is to the hundredth. And this is already written in dollars and cents, so it's already written to the hundredth. So to the nearest penny is already 27.41. If you look back at your notes, the nearest dime is rounding to the tenth. So I would look at the 10th, and I see that there's a 1 next to it, and the 1 does not round up to 4. So to the nearest dime would be $27.40. And when you think about it, 41 is closer to 40 than it is to 50. The nearest $0.50, if we think about the chart, is 41 cents closer to $27, or is it closer to $27.50? Well, 41 is more than 25 cents, which takes it closer to the 50. So 27.41 is closer to 27.50. That's rounded to the nearest $0.50. And then the nearest dollar, we'll be looking at the ones place, that's 7. The 4 tells you to keep it the same. So it is 27 whole dollars. 41 cents is closer to 27 than it is to 28. Makes sense. Makes sense. So this is that one number rounded to the penny, the dime, the half dollar, and the dollar. Pause the video and try the next one on your own, and then come back and check it out. Okay, welcome back. We're looking at 417 and 806 thousandths. Now, we want to round this to the nearest penny, so we have to start by writing it in the hundredths place. So I look at my hundredths, which is 0, and I see the 6 tells me to round it up. So my nearest penny is going to be $417.81, because that 1 tells you, that 6 tells you to round it up to a 1. All right, the next one is going to be the nearest dime. Now, what I'm actually going to do is I am going to look at the penny answer to be able to round to the nearest dime. So I'm going to look, remember the nearest dime, you had to look at the tenths. This 8 is in the tenths, and the 1 tells me not to round up. So I will have $417.80, which makes sense because 81 is closer to 80 than it is to 90. The nearest half dollar, I need to decide if 417.81 is closer to 417.50 or 418. Since 81 is more than 75 cents, it takes it closer to the next whole dollar. So it is $418. And last but not least, the nearest whole number. So $417.81. I'm going to look this time at the 7 because you have to check the whole number. The 1's place to see. I look at the 8. That 8 tells me to round up. So it is $418. So it just so happens the nearest whole number and the nearest half dollar are the same number, and that's okay. Oops, sorry. And that's okay. It shouldn't make a difference. All right. So you're going to try this out on your own. Make sure you look at your learning path and see what you need to do next.